Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another Global Science Café Czech Centers coming from Prague. You may well know by now that Czech Centers is a part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, and they're tasked with the pleasant goal of talking with top Czech scientists, cultural innovators, professionals from every walk of life to talk about their work and the impact it has on the whole world. Czech Centres has a network that includes 25 branches spread across 3 continents, so I welcome you from across the world. And this evening, we're going to be speaking with a very special young talent from the Czech Republic. As you all know, the science cafes are an informal debating opportunity between two people, or just to have a chat, really. And these are talking to people, Czech scientists, innovators, economists, from a wide range walks of life. Well, this evening, this young man will bring together many of these threads. We're going to be talking about and finding the connection between art, between beauty, craftsmanship, modern technology, aesthetics, and comfort. And to help us do that, we're going to be talking about shoes. Because this evening I have Aldrich Vojta, welcome. And Aldrich is a shoe designer and the winner of this year's national finals of the FameLab Science Competition. Aldrich, welcome amongst us. And I'm going to begin, though, although I'm associating you now with shoes, and in particular the innovation of bringing different types of technology into shoe design. Your beginnings are in the arts and in dance. So maybe you can tell us a bit about that.
So at first, thank you for having me here. Really appreciate that. This chance is amazing. And my beginning, well, yeah, as you said, I started in dance as a little kid, going to dance conservatoire in Prague, and this just opened me my eyes how to work with your time, how to work with your body, and how to understand that. And which then later, many years after that, I realize I still taking these experiences,
I see. So
using
this
them.
this is the beginnings of your understanding of aesthetics, what
Yeah,
works, and that's gone into your later design career.
definitely. I mean, after the school, we always spent our afternoons or basic probably more nights in a theater, either watching some performances of our colleagues or preparing ourselves for our performances in national theater, in state theater. So we had to be calm, we had to have this respect, and be grateful to have the chance to perform since we were 12 years old till 19 when you finished the school.
So you're getting this a hard work ethic.
Yeah.
You're taking opportunities to perform.
Huh.
I'm listening to what you're telling me. You're learning about aesthetics. You've got a feeling for that part, for that artistic side of things. So how does that then transform and transfer towards design, technology?
Yeah, well, I'm a person who likes to observe. When I was in a theater, dancing and performance, as a performer, you in one performance you are dancing many different characters when you're starting before you have the main character, the title character. So during one performance, you might to switch up to 3 or 5 different costumes, and some of them you're wearing at the same times. So you are wearing 3 layers, 3 different costumes, burning yourself because there are these lights so hot on the stage, but still you need to look perfect.
So
And
you're getting an appreciation of materials.
yeah, and then when I was on stage, wearing those costumes, you have the quick changes from one costume to another. So what the audience don't know, and you have like 1 minute, sometimes less than that, to change yourself. But still, you might to feel uncomfortable. So for me, I just start to think about it. Maybe if the costume designer who's making these costumes would change the fabric will be more, breathable, or maybe there'll be some parts which will be working for the dancer or for the performer. Maybe it will be better. And this was the actual beginning for me when I started to think about how to improve things which I'm wearing, because I was feeling not good wearing that.
I see. So you're you're looking for a greater functionality
Yeah,
in the clothing that you're wearing.
yeah,
You want the clothes that you wear to respect the function you have as a dancer.
yeah.
Okay, so that's an interesting beginning. And then you have an opportunity given to you in China.
Yes. So after I finished my school, um, I accidentally broke my knee, but this was actually a blessing for me, because after a fatal jump landing from my actually first audition, it was in the National Theatre, and there was it's called Burza Mladých Tanečníků, something like every artistic director from the Czech theaters and Slovak theaters are coming there to see the performers. So you, as a dancer, don't need to travel to each theater. So you can imagine, every director saw me destroy my knee at
I
the moment.
see.
So I couldn't dance anymore after that, because everybody knew that, you know, I'm off. So then, because the time I already done some costume design work, um, I went on a tour with Jiří Senec, the Blacklight Theater, to China, and that was actually the first beginning how I got to China, and accidentally our tour guide, she studied the Beijing Institute of Fashion Technology, and at the first moment, we start to become a, a really good friends, because the tour took 2 months and we had so many common stuff to talk about. And then we realized that we both have some, uh, feelings to the clothing and how to work with it. And she introduced me to her friends, who that time were having a fashion design studio in Beijing. And it was when in a moment when my other colleagues from the tour, they went to see Forbidden City and Great Wall, and rather than that, I went to
You went to
see.
go and see these people who are working with the clothing.
And because it was more interesting for me, and it was nice to, share um, the culture.
Well, it seems to me as you're a man of who wants to express yourself.
Yeah,
So you're obviously having a good time from that opportunity to express yourself, whether it be through dance
yeah,
or later on now with clothing.
yeah,
So you're gradually moving over now to you're learning more and more about the how you make clothing through design and manufacture to give greater functionality.
yeah.
So what happens from there?
Well, at that dinner I went with the Chinese. It was actually really funny, because they showed me their production. They were doing a part of fashion. They're also doing a project for a Chinese opera, and this particular one was a Beijing opera. And then in that moment, I, because of my studying and history, and the studying of the history of dancing and theaters in the dance conservatoire, I knew that there are some certain mm, points what you can do in the costumes for Beijing opera, because this Beijing opera, it was made for the emperor, this style of the theater. So you cannot use some of the things which are used in other theater. And then on the table, they were having some shoes for this performance. And I knew this performance from learning it on my dance during the time when I was a student in the dance conservatoire. And what I saw on this table was a Japanese shoes. And I told them, you can't use them because it's for Beijing opera. It's something so traditional for this culture. It'll be rude to use these particular shoes. And they were telling to me, no, they are Chinese, definitely. And I said, no, give me some, internet and computer, I will prove you wrong. And so I did. And it made a huge impact to them. So they told me, you came here, you popped up just hours ago, and we now see that you have some
Greater
understanding.
knowledge of what the right
Yeah,
footwear should be, so
I
you don't
mean,
make any
of course it
faux
was
pas.
accident, but um, for me, it's important to, when you have a chance, to grab the chance.
Yeah.
When you have something to say, when you are certain about that, say it. Don't be afraid for
But
that.
that wasn't how you that wasn't the point when you got into footwear at this thing.
No.
I think one of the, if I'm not mistaken, one of the aspects of working in Beijing that surprised you perhaps the most was the quality of the air.
Yes, that's true. I mean, the first tour with the theater, it was 2012, when we went to several cities and the states in China, and for 2 months we saw the sky just only once,
One day of clear sky.
one day of a clean air, so we could see the sky. That was horrible. I thought it's just fog, and then they told me no, it's not fog. It's actual pollution. It's air pollution. Now I realize how horrible the air is in China. I mean, nowadays it's much better, but when I started in China, it was crucial.
Okay.
And my time when I start to work there as a fashion designer, then a product designer, I joined a studio de facto, and it was the most amazing experience for me because everybody in the studio were from different culture, different country, and different continent even. So, but the main thing for us was we wanted to do some project. We wanted to make it happen. It
Right, so you're
wasn't
very,
about,
very much focused on the goal, and
yeah,
I think maybe we have an opportunity to show a picture of the sort of face masks that you were designing and making.
yeah. Yeah, we can have some pictures. Um,
Well,
of
that's there
the
we go.
face mask. Here you can see. So this is the actual face mask. It was made for a company, Atmo Blue. They built this. They bought this product, and then they created million of copies and of this mask. Here you can see actually the man is the technologist from our studio. I was presenting in a Beijing Mercedes-Benz Beijing Fashion Week, and they were wearing that. The thing of that, it's not a face mask, it's air purifier. There are two HEPA filters. There are touch sensors, and it's all connected with the with your smartphone. So because of these, you can see when you need to change the filters and what's the air pollution outside because it's connected with the weather report and what's the air you're breathing in. And this gave me so much, happiness.
So you're beginning to understand how modern technology, in terms of sensors,
Mm,
can be applied into, I suppose, it's a technology which we wear
yeah,
as a face mask that gives that intelligence to the materials,
yeah,
and then that gives that functionality. So
yeah.
that's crossing over to what you're talking in theory beforehand regarding the kind of clothing you'll be wearing as a dancer
Mm,
to introduce functionality.
exactly.
So as I'm listening to you, I get the feeling that you caught this bug of working with goal-orientated people, a multinational crowd, the application of technology into the design of something new. Let's fast forward a bit. You return to the Czech Republic.
Yes.
You finish your studies on dance,
Yeah.
and you carry this new love of design, of a material understanding.
Material understanding, but also the technology. I would go rather slightly back when it was a really beginning of for me the understanding of the technology because the face mask was made out in 2017-18 when we won the red dot for this mask. But before of that, I was asked to participate in fashion show, fashion weekend sort of, and it's called Fashion STL. It was connection between fashion and 3D, 3D technology, 3D printing. And that time, it was 2014-15, when there were no 3D 3D printers at homes, as we having them commonly nowadays from Prussia. And so we had the great chance to collaborate with Prusa and other 3D modelers and company Filamentum, who so generously offered us their material for 3D printing. Um, so I asked myself the question, what kind of garment or what kind of part of clothing should I make out of 3D printing?
Okay. And at this point, if I'm not mistaken, that's when you meet a Mr. Manolo Blahnik.
It was a couple of years later, but in this point, I said, okay, let's do shoes.
Right.
And I don't know if we can see them on the screen. The crystal clear see-through shoes made out of flexible filament, which were made in a
Here we
collaboration.
go.
Yeah, in a collaboration with Filamentum is, and this was the first flexible filament in Czech Republic. And because of that, I was able to do the shoes. Because for me, I said, if I would do some corset or shirt made out of 3D printing, it wouldn't be comfortable. So
So
the
the
shoes gave me
flexibility. So I mean, do you understand what are the polymers that are being used in these, or was that a
that
secret?
time. That time I didn't have a clue
Right.
because that time it was 2015, 16 when I had just the dance conservatoire. It was prior to studying shoe design, prior to studying polymers, what I'm doing now in my PhD. So I just had the good friends who was the owner of the company, and he said, well, we are working on some flexible filament. You
Right.
can test different flexibility which would suit to your needs for making the shoe and give us the feedback.
Right.
So we done several models with Martin Hreben, the modeler, and thanks to Josef Dolecek, the owner of the company, or director of the company. He was just talking with a friend, and he was offering us different types until the moment we got the right flexibility, and we were able to create the shoes. Because for 3D printing that time, it was for me unheard of to do anything comfortable. And then again, I wanted to be wearable, not just
Okay.
look good, but
But it has to be actually comfortable and wearable.
yeah.
So let's develop this theme then. So you've been inspired by 3D printing.
Mm,
You've been inspired with new materials, this concept that you can then make this new type of footwear,
yeah.
which would have an elegant design, but would actually be
Wearable.
wearable. And the entire shoe is printed then,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just the sole,
No, no,
because
no.
there's
The entire shoe.
yeah, because I've seen on a number of scientific trade fairs, or whatever, shoes where the soles are being
Yeah.
printed, but not the
Upper,
entire
not
shoe
the upper.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah, no, this, I mean, it was prior to me before understanding of what the feet needs, what I know now. But before that, I knew it needs to be flexible, needs to be comfortable, and it should look good because, I mean, the design is the thing what I should present as a designer. So, yeah, and the first model, it was made something like a 3D puzzle. You didn't need to use any kind of glue because we had the first shoe was made out of 5 pieces. You put them all together. There was some kind of lock system mechanism. You put them together, it clicked, and you couldn't take them off. And then you had the shoe. And so you see, I had many in my life. I had many moments meeting with shoes. Either it was in China meeting the shoes in the design studio and saying, this is a Japanese shoes. You can't use it for the Beijing Opera, and then doing the fashion STL, doing the 3D printed shoes. Um, after that, another design of a 3D printed shoes. While doing a fashion in China, and it was up until the year 2017 when I was 25, and I said, I didn't finish my studies, my university, and I just said, if I'm not going to go for university now, I'm not going to do it. And it's not. It doesn't matter if I was having some project offer. There was zillion projects what you could do with fantastic money, but the thing is that I would always need to go take the book or do my research for this particular project and read myself through the connections, through the history, and get it into it. And I said, maybe it's better to study it properly, study the craftsmanship, study the all the informations about that. And because I was connected with the shoes, and coincidentally, the 2017 was a year when Manolo Blahnik, as we have a picture, um, I was in Czech Republic preparing, having an exhibition in a Kampa museum on Malá Strana. I went there, knocked the door, and I just said, I would like to participate on preparing these. I mean, I don't mind to just hold bags, literally, because to be there, have a chance to read how the shoes are made, and I didn't know that time if Manolo is coming, but just to be with the object, with a professionally made object. I mean, shoes of Manolo Blahnik is the same like dresses from Christian Dior. The quality is the same. So, and that time, if I would be able to touch them and really look from every angle, ask for what kind of materials they are made and everything, that was the most important for me. And didn't know if he's coming or not. He came, and because I had some experiences with fashion and with shoes, I start to have discussions with Manolo about how he started with shoes and how he's thinking when he's making the shoes, and also the
And so
materials and everything.
what was his opinion about your ideas regarding using 3D printing?
Oh, no, I think he was thinking it's so silly because he's a really traditional maker, and he is making every he's a cobbler, as Anna Wintour, the editor-in-chief of American Vogue, said about him. He's a cobbler. He knows everything about how to make the shoe, and he doesn't care about if he's famous or not. It's about the knowledge.
Yes.
So this was the main reason why after this I applied for studying the shoe design and get the craftsmanship.
So you've been inspired by a master of traditional cobbling,
Yeah.
footwear manufacturing or making of shoes. Then you've decided to take it up professionally by going to study into the field.
Yeah.
And this is where now? Where did you,
It was 2017, 18.
and to which university?
It was Thomas Bach University
In Zelin.
in Zlín. When I went to study the footwear design, I applied for my master. I already finished my bachelor in music pedagogy, completely out of
Yes.
what I was doing.
Yes.
Um,
But
but
we've described how you've sort of transferred across to design and the application of technology to design. So you're doing your degree. Tell me a bit about what you're developing during your master's thesis, and then
yeah,
going on into further education into your PhD.
yeah. Well, I need to say that after China, I was having just my degree from the dance conservatoire. So for me, being a designer, which my heart wanted, um, I was unable to go and say, I have these skills and such. And also, when I was in China, my former boss, she said, you're not high educated, and you have all the knowledge, you have all the experiences, but you're not high educated. And we are friends. She just mentioned this maybe in one dinner, and it just resonated in my mind because there are many different culture, many different people, and it doesn't matter if you if you have like zillion schools or if you have none of the school. It matter what was the key point is that maybe different culture thinks differently, and I wanted to first have the knowledge, and not just from books, but second, with it, why not to getting the degree as well. And so then I went to the university, um, studying the footwear design, where I actually had the chance to create the shoes itself by my hand. I studied many different styles, how to sew the shoe, how to work with the shoe last, learn the terminology, the right jargon of for the footwear, for the material, touch each kind of leather, and
Maybe
upper
maybe
materials.
it's useful for our international audience just to point out that Zlín as a city and of course a university which carries the name Tomáš Baťa, that is Tomáš Baťa of course is famous for his shoe
Yeah,
manufacturing that comes from Zlín and now it's an international brand. But continue.
Cachet. Yeah, I mean, to go, when I said I want to do shoes, Zlin was the only option for me for getting the craft. Because, as you mentioned, Tomasz Baťa, everybody knows Baťa brand for footwear. Historically, it's is the main footwear manufacturer from Czech Republic who succeeded worldwide. And this aspirate is still in Zlín, which is so fantastic. You can go, there is still the factory. Some of the buildings are working for different purposes, but some of them are still producing the shoes.
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
Yes.
And is you don't need to go to many kilometers behind the city. It's just in a city center. So and it's because it's really small city. Um, you make friends really easily, and the friends will tell you, "Oh, you can go to this door and knock this person." You tell him,
So
you're
you
coming from me, and you want this.
yes.
And it was like Hogwarts, literally for me, because it was so magical everywhere you go. Everything was new for me, and I wanted to, I was thirsty for each information to learn and how to make from design, from one idea to the final model. And so this was my 2 years in the university, studying my master, and we can see some of the shoes maybe on a picture. They're the white shoes made out of bacterial cellulose called malai,
Hmm.
and it's a vegan leather made out of coconut. Because for me, as what I started to understand, that every piece of if you look around yourself, everything what you see, it's a future um, output. It's a future
Waste.
waste. Yeah,
Yes.
that's the word. So um, what I wanted to do is be more pro-environmental.
Okay.
So these,
So you're thinking about concepts of sustainability
mm,
in terms of your material use. So rather than traditional leather based from animal leather, you're looking at using alternatives,
yeah.
plant-based materials.
Well, yes and no. I would say everything's got a reason for what you use. If I wanted to do the shoes, I got a material when it was completely brand new material for students, for the customers in Czech Republic. It's made in India by one Slovakian researcher, and nobody knew how to work with it. And it had this really interesting smell. No, many people didn't like it, and I said, let's try to work with it as um, as with any kind of material. And I try many different technique how to work with it, how to put it on a shoe last, how to stretch it and such, till I found the actual way how to form it, how to keep this material to hold this form and stay as a shoe as I wanted. And plus, it's completely biodegradable. Even the 3D printed outsole and metal outsole, it's more exhibition. It's more for an exhibition, for sending the message of think different, think out of the box. You don't need to wear it, but you can just stop, look at it, and think about maybe there is a way how to change and use different materials. And you can ask yourself the question, what kind of materials I could use for maybe not just shoe, but as the audience walks by, maybe for everything.
Mm.
So it's just giving our more options to think and have the discussion between the designer, the creator, and the audience. So yes, in this particular reason, I choose the this biodegradable, sustainable material. But I wouldn't say leather is bad for shoes, maybe for other stuff as well. And now I can already hear many people screaming at me, you know, why you want to use leather when you have all the vegan leather already. But many, or I would say most of those people don't have the knowledge of the material. You have to see the leather is not just a skin out of an animal. It's a material which got its properties. So as I mentioned, everything for me is important the functionality. And I ask this question also for the material I use. For every single bit needs to be particular, and everything what I do, I need to ask myself, why am I using it?
Mm.
What's the reason for me to picking this one?
So it sounds like you're weighing up the different pros and cons of every material. So,
Yeah,
so where there's obvious pros in the functionality of leather,
yeah,
whereas there can be pros in terms of sustainability in the use of plant-based leather alternatives. However, maybe the actual properties aren't as good as leather. So you've got to find a way of a compromise
exactly.
of developing shoe wear which is sustainable but then meets the demands of the
Yeah, I
customer.
mean, I wouldn't say it's just for shoes. You can see in like
Yeah.
in a clothing, in accessories, handbags, wallets, everything. There are parts where I wouldn't use the leather because why I would use the leather? It's got the pores, and the pores are with the material itself are in touch with the skin of us as wearers.
Yes.
And that's the key thing why I want to use the leather, because I can use some biodegradable coconut made of leather, or they are made out of pineapple, and many more. Every week you can hear from new material, new vegan leather, but even they're making the pores in it by needling. Um, the great thing of leather is that it suck the
It's
humidity.
naturally breathable.
Yeah, it's the habit of the material. So when you wear it, and that's even what Thomas Batya said, that when you wear shoes, you should wear shoes one day, and for another day you just pick a different one, because you need to give the shoes to breathe and to get all the humidity out of the shoe. So next day, the third day, you can take the shoes which you took the 2 days ago, and they are dried, right? So when you would be wearing shoes made out of fake leather or vegan leather, um, this material is in touch with your skin, and the your sweat, the taboo, what nobody talks about, is making some problems there. And this is one of the reasons why I dedicated my master thesis in sensory shoe, and now we're meeting the technology.
So we've discussed about how you're innovating in the materials you're using in shoe wear. So, and now you've just opened up another string to your bow, and that is the application of sensor technology to the footwear. So tell me a bit about it.
That's correct. Yes. You know, when I was in China, I had the first sort of taste of what is the connection between the fashion and technology. I went to the factory in Shanghai. There is a Santoni. It's Italian company who's producing the best knitted fabrics. But also, I mean, they're making the machines for the knitting, 3D knitting. And the knitting can be, as I mentioned, 3D, circular. And as you can see, if it's a circular, you can put any different shape of it when it's circular. But what's a great advantage on it? You can put electrically conductive thread inside. And here you go, you already have a sensor.
Hmm.
And what is important to say is that the customer might not know that there is something like this. I mean, they would know because they would buy the item because of it. And Google made a project Jacquard based on that. They created their own electrically conductive thread, and then they created these sensors just out of the thread. It's fantastic because if you create the net out of the electrically conductive fabric, I mean the threads, when they're crossing each other, you've got the similarities with the material and with touch sensor.
Hmm.
So you can actually create the clothing, and you can touch it, and it will sense, and it can be then connected with some hardware to be readable for what you're doing, the gestures, and then applied many different functions. So that's one of the thing. What I was when I realized this, that these are the options, when I visited this factory in Shanghai, and how they work with it, and that's really not difficult. Um, then I said, okay, let's try to do something like this uh, as my master project. And because I was already working with coconut leather, and then there was the problem with humidity made inside of the shoe, and the lack of breathability. Um, then I said, okay, um, let's do the sport shoe, which would have the sensors for humidity and temperature. So you could actually find the momentum when the mold is being made, being created or grown inside of the shoe.
So, okay, so you're nicely moving on now from this principle of having a device that can sense humidity and temperature inside your shoe. So let's talk a bit about why that's important to the shoe wearer.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we what are we risking if we have shoes that are too temperate and too humid?
Yeah. Well, what you're risking, you're basically risking that you might to have some mold between your toes.
Yes.
Nobody wants that. Smelly feet, right? But the thing is, it's nobody talks about it because it's disgusting.
Yes.
And but it's important because most of population experienced this thing. Most of the population living people, and they don't talk about it.
So these shoes will, we can see a picture here of the circuitry that's actually incorporated into the shoe. When you're actually wearing, I'm presuming you've worn this shoe,
Yeah.
and it doesn't impart on the comfort of
No.
and how does that sensor inform the wearer that the temperature and conditions inside the shoe have come to the point at which
Yeah.
mold growth can be?
Well, it was set to give you an electric shock, so you will just do this. No, I'm kidding. No, it was connected obviously with the micro computer, and then we had I don't remember if it was a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. It was connected with your smartphone.
Right, so it's okay. So it's linked to your
Yeah,
smartphone.
we and I created with my colleague because okay, I will say it later. The time when we were making it. So it's linked with your smartphone. We created the app from MIT sort of application maker. We connected with the MIT Massachusetts Institute of Technology some kind of application. So we just downloaded the program and create this app connected with this computer, and then you have sensors, then you have computer, you have some battery system, so it works. But how to adjust? Like, when is the moment to get this notification? Like, what's the actual temperature? What's the actual humidity?
Mm,
What the limits? And that's the moment when I went to the hospital because I don't have this knowledge. And
no,
I couldn't have this knowledge. I'm a designer who just tried to be technologist,
right.
and but there are people who studying it for entire life.
So you're taking it rigorously. I mean, you could have just Googled it and looked up
No,
whatever, but no, you've done it rigorously and you've gone to professionals. But
yeah,
I mean, it's a clear advantage, of course, knowing about the humidity and temperature in there's that censorship, that sensing in your footwear. But you've discovered that this principle is actually relevant to more important, more profound illnesses.
yeah.
So tell me a bit about that.
Well, when I create the shoe, I will just maybe say that it was during the time when there was first lockdown. So we didn't make I didn't make the shoe in a lab. I made the shoe in a kitchen of a dormitory of my university with my flatmate who was studying robotics in his second year of bachelor, I think. So very basic, but somehow we happened to make it made it work, and I made it to the graduation successfully. But the thing is that um, the moment of why you would choose this shoe is not that when you're sporting and doing some exercises and then suddenly you get a notification. No, now is the moment. There is like this danger.
These
Um,
conditions, yeah.
yeah, so take off the shoe. No, I mean this might be for another time, but is the moment when before you take the shoe on, it will gives you the notification whether your shoe is already dry
Dry
enough,
enough, yeah.
whether you have the environment in your house that the shoe is drying during you not wearing it. So because you see there are places like Asia, which I experienced, that there is 100% humidity in the
Hmm.
air, so there is no chance that this shoe would get dry.
Yeah.
And then you get, on the other hand, super high chance to get mold on inside of your shoe, and then on your toe or before you between your toes. So this is some question which I was putting on the table and asking myself how to work towards these, and also while doing some design, and who needs these. And now we can actually see some of the shoe. They are sandals. Um, I think there are like three pictures of one of this collection which I made during my stay in a company, Medistyle. It's a Czech company who does diabetic shoes. And you say yourself a diabetic shoe. What do you project when you say diabetic shoe? You project, yeah,
Well, no. Well, I think a joke came across my mind that it'd be without any sugar, but there's a diabetic shoe. Well, I mean, I know people who suffer from diabetes, they have a problem with circulation.
yeah,
And so I'm imagining, of course, and the feet particularly suffer from bad circulation. It could lead to swelling.
yeah,
And eventually, if the disease is, if it hits them bad enough, then they can eventually lose the functioning of their feet, and they
yeah,
can even lead to amputation.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So,
So
so I'm imagining. I mean, you asked a question. I'm imagining footwear that can somehow interact with the body in the sense that it tells them
yeah,
about what's happening in terms of swelling of the feet, or the
yeah.
rate, the circulation.
Yeah, I mean, you took it from the scientific perspective, but my question was maybe more into direction of design. If I ask you
I
like,
see.
how do you project the diabetic shoe look
So
like?
flexibility, able to morph with.
Adjust, yeah, and also the design is not as good. It needs to be good for people to not just hang their body and put it and tie them with the laces. It just need to be a slipper, and as you mentioned, it need to be adjustable. But the design then is rather horrible.
Mhm.
So I went to this company who makes these shoes, and I tried to do the shoes look more beautiful. And you know, there are shoes, there are companies and brands who make shoes which are orthopedical shoes, which are healthy shoes, and they don't look good. They don't look bad, sorry. And so why Czech brands, or most of the brands who are making these particular models of shoes, why they don't look on the design or the presentation, how you sell the shoe to the customer?
Mhm.
Because there are not just the diabetic people. There are people who are just wearing the shoes which doesn't have these advantages of not of you know not destroying the feet. So when the people will not wear shoes which are destroying your feet from the beginning, then you might not need to use you might not need to go to some surgery in your later years. So young people should wear these shoes as well, but there is no chance they're going to buy one if the presentation of the
Yeah,
model
right.
is horrible.
Yes.
So I took my models, which I created for the
So it needs to be
company,
functional and sexy.
basically. And so I took my models and I went for a trip for hiking to Austria and with bunch of friends. And there were one friend which happened to be a girl, and I said, you know, this is a nice place. Let's do some pictures here.
Hmm.
You have good, you have nice food, you have nice feed. So would you be my model? And I took those pictures. I done some, you know, corrections with the lighting and such, and choose the places where to do the pictures. So I done the entire presentation from the perspective of that's the function. This shoe needs to have the function. This shoe needs to look somehow good, and you need to have the customers to buy that. And these customers need to be younger than 55, and then this package I give it to the company. So I think this is multiply things what as a designer need to think about it. I mean, of course you will have zillion people who will do this job, but you need to have this in your mind.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, Aldrich, before we come to some conclusions, I notice here you have uh, two shoes with your name
Yeah.
inside. Maybe you can tell me a bit about what these shoes are and how they're made and why they're special.
Um, yeah. So this shoe is actually my latest collection, and that's the biggest collection of shoes which I ever created. It's got 16 models. This collection is called Opera, and I took myself back on stage, back to the Czech National Theatre where I was doing the shooting and the opera, the state opera, and I tried to put my knowledge of understanding the aesthetics and also the word why. So I put my question why on material, on the purpose of the function, and this is how I was working creating this collection. So starting from the design, you can see the implementation of my experiences from being a dancer, dancing in the Czech National Theatre, in ballets like Sleeping Beauty or many others, being in this environment. So it's really theatrical. It doesn't necessarily mean that I would only do this kind of shoes. But as you mentioned, as you maybe saw before of my sneaker, it's definitely not the theatrical one. But so this is the aesthetic point. Then I said, okay, the environmental point is really important. So I connected with the company Polstrin. It's an upholstery company who's making sofas like these, and they have some leftover fabrics. It's brand new fabric, which is too small for them to use. Because if you sit up from your chair, and I'm asking the people who's watching it, and look at your sofa, it's a gigantic piece of fabric. So this fabric, it's of course cutted from another huge pile of many meter fabric, but then you have these leftovers, and those leftovers might be small as as 10 centimeter, but it can be also bigger. So I went there and talked with the owners of this company. It's a nice family brand, family company, and we managed to find pieces which were still is there brand new fabric, and it was like 2.5 meter long.
Offcuts you can use in
Offcuts, yeah, and they couldn't use that
which
because
links into very modern ways of thinking about a new approach to the general economy, a circular economy,
yeah.
where there's a better use of resources.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I went there and I asked, what do you do with these leftovers? And they said, well, we have some people who do some cushions out of it, but we can't do cushions all the time, and they're not maybe parts which are enough for cushions. So I um I went there and talked with them that for me as a shoe designer, even small fabric, it's enough. and I
Yes.
can do brand new shoes out of
Because
it.
each pair of your shoes are, of course, are unique, aren't they?
Yeah,
And you're making these in Inzolin.
I'm making these shoes in the in Zlín in a university on my university in the Footwear Research Center, where it's dedicated. This place is dedicated to put the shoes from one level as we know it to another, to get the understanding, to determine the shoe from on parts, to do these 3D scanning
Mhm.
using technology and creating it. So I've done these shoes there using upcycled fabric from this Polstrian company, and in this model, particular one, collaborated with Preziosa,
Yes,
Czech
yes.
brand
I'm aware of them.
for crystals.
Yes.
So because you see, you need to, as a designer and creator of these, you need to think of the people needs to like it. They need to feel comfort, and then it comes to another point that the comfort on a high heel shoe, when it's really rather difficult to achieve. So I use the 3D scanning technology and create the shoe lace, which is enhanced on the sides, so is not as slick,
As narrow
narrow,
and
yeah.
tight.
So
So
the
it's a
normal
wider
shoe,
fit.
exactly. So the normal shoe would do this with your toes.
Yes.
But instead of that, I make this shoe being more wider on the side.
Yes.
In this particular model is 37 size and it's half centimeter from each side wider.
Right.
You cannot say that. You cannot see that it's wider than a normal shoe, but you can feel that when you wear that. And another thing is that each of the model is getting the support under your
Yeah, I
arch.
noticed there that there's that instep is quite pronounced. So there's you've obviously, and that's from doing the 3D scanning of people's feet.
Yes.
But I mean, everybody's got individual feet. I mean, is the future in having individual footwear? I mean, I can imagine, for example, if I had at home a good 3D printer, I hear about you, I look up, I contact you, I get a 3D scan of my foot, you send me back a design, I pay for that design, and then I can print off my own shoes.
You can, but then you will break your ankle, and then you blame me that it's my
I see.
fault. So
So you always have to maintain the ownership
of
of
course
that
I can't
manufacturer.
assure somebody's printer.
Okay.
So the thing is that
But I tell you what, because I want to leave a bit of time for questions.
yeah, sure.
So maybe very briefly, in a matter of half a minute or so, tell me what is the future for you?
The future for me is that I think that I need to observe more variety of shoes, of style of shoes. I've done, sneakers. I've done the shoes for diabetic people, but I would like to do more different typology, maybe different height of the feet, create them to understand it, and doing it for actual person.
So you want to absorb more and more and more, and
And then at some point go maybe to some a brand, to some company, and change the way how they create shoes, how they think of creating the
okay,
shoes.
to be a game changer and change.
Yeah, because I mean these shoes looks good. I mean many people would say, but they also feel good to wear. And this is the point where there's something what you not expect of this type of shoes,
Okay.
to feel good while wearing it. And now I know people, I know ladies who wears the shoes for 10 hours because for them it's a working shoe, like the costume with so many pearls on stage. For them, this design shoe is the working shoe, and they need to feel comfortable as well.
Okay. Well, Aldrich, thank you very much. Let's move on to some of the questions. So maybe, well, Petra asks, links onto what we've just been talking about. Where do you see yourselves? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Now, we've got to try and be brief answers to get as many questions as
In
possible.
10 years, I would like to have a major input on how shoes are being made, maybe worldwide, in
And
a world.
what about your own company with selling these things directly?
Well, that's possible, but you need to know also how to create them in a huge factories.
Yes.
I don't have this experience
No.
yet.
So okay,
So
so a revolutionist in the design
yeah,
and
and also like the connection with the factory making and implement these technology and pro comfort, pro environmental into factory made models.
okay. Lucia asks, says, congratulations on your amazing work. I love
Yeah.
your opera collection, which we
Yeah.
showed previously. My question is, what's your fashion dream?
My fashion dream, well, it's every new dream I have. It's a sort of fashion dream. My fashion dream was meeting with Manolo, getting these amazing stories and advices, and had a chance to have discussion with him. My fashion dream is perhaps to become somebody like him in the future. To have the mo- the to have the chance to change something with the shoes.
Okay. So not only to revolutionize the way we think about shoes, but actually to make a big change then.
To make, yeah, of course. I mean, every dreamer has this. So if she asks what's my dream, this is the dream.
Yes, to leave the largest imprint as possible before. Okay, next
Sky is
question.
the limit.
Yes, which is from somebody anonymous. What do you perceive as your greatest success?
um,
Because we did talk about you. I mean, it's not just
yeah.
footwear design. You've gone through dancing, and music. Uh,
My greatest success, I think, is being happy. I mean, if you're happy, then you have enough of everything what you ever wanted. So being happy is that's the best. That's the greatest success. For because if you're happy, you have enough of um, anything what you ever wanted, but you still can share. For example, my success is recently I took my former classmates to Milan for Milan Design Week as my interns. I said to them, you might be my interns, but I forced them. I said, I want you to go to every possible exhibition you can. I tell them you will stay here in the with the shoes for we will switch. I have two interns. You will switch. One will be here. One will go observe another stuff, and you will have the chance to discuss with the people. They were helping me with making the shoes, and they were having the understanding of what's the process. And I think that's a success for me because I can share my success with them, and they have the understanding of that.
Great. So happiness. And last but not least, Pavla, could you share what it was like working in Beijing? How did you get there? Thank you.
Well, I mentioned this, how I got there. It was just coincident, basically. I went for dinner with people I never met before.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of this
Yeah.
at the beginning. So Pavla, if she did miss it, she can always look it
No,
up. But
I
what?
give you the first moment how I got there. It's rather interesting. Um, I was performing on stage from my conservatoire, and it's a Děvčátko se sirkami. It was one performance, and I was having the main character role, but I had the chance to perform just one day. It was double performance, and on one day, on this particular performance, I was dancing with one girl. It was Anna Srncová, and she was the daughter of Jiří Srnec, founder of the theater of Blacklight Theater. And after seeing me there in that one day, which I had the chance to perform, dancing with with his daughter, he offered me to go on a tour to China.
Let me ask you a question about linked to that. So very quickly, is your future in China? Do you think, or because you talk of your time in China, I think with quite a fondness.
Yeah, I really like working in China because it's eye-opening country. You realize that many things are silly what you're thinking about in a daily life. I think the future in China, isn't it for us all?
Possibly. Okay, and on that point, I'd like to thank you once again, Aldrich Vojta. Good luck with your shoes. I'm a big fan of the way you're applying technology to that footwear. So congratulations on what you've achieved so far. Good luck onto your future endeavors. we'll certainly be looking out for them. And I would like to thank all of you watching us for your kind attention. And also, I'd like to wish you all a very happy festive season leading up to the holiday period and to Christmas. So, yeah, enjoy yourself. Enjoy your future footwear, whether it be from Mr. Vojta or from others. And a very merry and happy Christmas.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.